the Kitchen Revelations Hour man, Michael Feeley. Had a good laugh last couple of hours. So, you've got a big year ahead of you, 2020.
It would seem so, certainly the first part of it.
Yeah.
More talks for the first time ever. I'll be leaving outside the UK.
To talk about what I normally talk about, but at a more advanced level. Every time I do a talk, it is at a more advanced level than the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps it fresh for me, and if anybody's seen another one of my talks, then it hopefully keeps it fresh for them as well, because there's always new content being put in there.
Yeah. And where are you heading?
It is San Francisco in California, and it's a 4-day conference, and it's near to the airport, so I haven't got very far to travel when I get there, which is handy.
I was going to say it's easy to get back out.
Yeah, they might put me in Alcatraz, but you know.
Are you going to make a holiday? Or are you...
Well, yeah, we're going to spend, obviously it's a 4-day conference. I'll be speaking on one of the days. I don't know which day I'll be speaking yet. They're kindly giving me longer than any other speaker to do my talk, which I'm grateful for. Probably because I'm travelling the furthest out of everyone.
Oh, so only you coming from Britain?
I'm sort of the overseas. I think if you've had the likes of Mary Rodwell there in previous years who come from Australia, but I think this year I'm the only one who's outside of the US who's been flown over specifically for this. So I'm gonna have a look around, see what's around the venue and what I can sort of do while I'm there. Otherwise I'll just be in a hotel for 4 days, which is not something I particularly want to do. But I'll go and have a look at the sites and go and see what's around there. It's my first time in America. It's there purely for the conference, but obviously I'll be spending some of that time doing other
well,
things as well.
You never know, you might get other opportunities. Local radio, or you have followers in America, don't you?
Yes, there are people who I speak to regularly who are US based. They are coming to the conference. Ironically, one of them says, I'm only just around the corner, I'm 6 hours away. Now for us, that's a day's travel, isn't it? But for America, it's just around the corner for them. So yeah, I'll be meeting a few people there who I only know through newsletters and through social media.
Exciting times.
It is exciting. I don't know what will come of it, if anything, but I often spoke about it with the wife for the last couple of years, and she specifically said that one day it will happen, and now that day's here. I've actually wrote 2 simultaneously.
Wow, he's been busy.
One came, the first one I didn't know if I was going to write again. For some reason I just didn't know if it was ever going to happen again.
Oh, yeah.
And ironically, about maybe 6, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, we came across somebody on social media who we began to speak to, and he said, if ever you come to Cornwall, then that's where I live. Drop me a message and we'll meet up. So 6-7 years later, we went on holiday in Cornwall. We said, by the way, we're coming to Cornwall now. This is where we're going. Are you anywhere near? He says, that's where I live. So
it's funny how these things.
It's funny how these things, and that really was a catalyst, because ironically, when we got there, we had a chat, and what I didn't realise that he was a former priest of 35 years, who left the church through being despondent and actually seeing that it wasn't what it's portraying to be. And of course, with me doing the esoteric side of that kind of thing as well, it sort of made the perfect match. So we sort of co-authored a book called The Code of Christ, What Religion Should Be Teaching You. But at the same time, because that got me back into writing again, the flow continued, and then it just continued into the latest one, which is Alchemy of the Gods. And mentioning Mary Rodwell, who's quite a renowned, respected speaker. She actually did the foreword for that, and endorsed the Alchemy of the Gods, and that really sort of goes deeper than ever before. But of course, as soon as I finish one, I then get complete inputs of everything else, and then it becomes old news, and then I've got to do another one to keep up with what's come through since. So it's that never ending.
Mary's in Australia, isn't she?
She lives in Australia now.
So now you've broken the seal and you're going to America. Are you open to travelling the world?
Funny you should say that, because yes.
Well, I'm a funny guy, as you know.
Well, exactly. Well, we just witnessed that. But,
magic. It's the magic of television.
The magic of comedy. Brilliant. Ironically, yes. Up until probably 6 or 7 months ago, if I'd have had the opportunity to go to San Francisco, and I've said this to the wife, I would have found an excuse not to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's too far. It's just, I'd have found an excuse. This time, I've said no matter what, I'm going. And as a result of saying no matter what, I'm going, I know all of a sudden I have this complete desire and will to just go.
That's a metaphor for life, isn't it?
It's a metaphor for life. But if this opportunity had come 6 months ago, I'd have found an excuse not to do it.
So it was meant to come at this time, wasn't it?
So it was meant to come at this time.
And that's it. And now you open the door, you kick the door open, everything.
Well, it's well and truly been kicked open. And again, it was initially just an offer to do a radio show in America at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was, well, I need to get up at 3 o'clock, that's it, but why not? I've done it before, I'll do it again. And it just so happens that the radio host is the one that organises the conference that I've been invited to.
Well, it's so easy to find reason not to do something.
Yeah.
Not to help people, not to
Of course it is.
cross the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, once you do, you go, why didn't I do this before?
Yeah.
Exactly,
But with it now, for the first time in my life, I actually want to explore, and I want to go to these places, and I want to do this. Up until probably even a few months ago, it would have been no.
So sending out an open invite to the world. If you're watching this and you fancy Michael coming to if you hold your own conference, get in touch. He's open to the possibility. What this guy doesn't know about the hidden meaning, esoteric. What do you call it? The hidden code?
Yeah, hidden codes, hidden secrets.
Hidden secrets.
Of much of the ancient world, really, which
that's hidden in plain sight.
Which is in plain sight, and the philosophy of all these secret societies that we see today really comes from the ancient past. It's just a linear line of secrecy that is really a foundation to hide this secret knowledge has been created, and that is what we know of today as religion or the mainstream versions of the ancient world, and that really is just a cover to hide this secret information.
See, what I found with your talks is there's something for everybody. For the not the initiated, but the people that have half an idea of what's going on. There's always new information. But even because you hit us with so many facts and so much information, for the people that are fast asleep, there's things to tweak them, isn't there? And go, oh, I see that. Even if it's the eye on the dollar bill or whatever, the City of London, and there's always something that it's very hard to dismiss, even for the closed-minded.
And then from there...
Yeah, and that's what you're doing, you're planting a seed, aren't you?
Well, what I like to do in the talks is, it always looks like it's several different subjects, and I can go from Christ to Mary Magdalene, to the pyramids of Egypt, to the main pyramids, to the Vatican, to the heads of Easter Island, and on the face of it, it looks like several different subjects, when in reality it's not. It's the same code, it's the same meaning. And I've had people who've been to the talk for the first time in the audience. I've had members of secret societies in the audience who've come up and had private chats afterwards. So you'd never know who's watching. And it's obviously always interesting to speak to those within, because they tell you how accurate what you've said really is, how close you are. And as a result of that, the invites to join these groups and things like that do come.
And what did you say when they said
they've always been declined, but
always been declined. You keep telling us that. We'll keep nodding.
Always been declined. But yeah, I've been invited.
You can roll your pants back down now.
Exactly. Where's the all-seeing eye? But no, they've always been declined because I want people to know. I genuinely believe that knowledge is everyone's right. It's everyone's entitlement. It's for everyone. And by keeping it from everyone, you are creating the kind of society that we have at the moment, where there are those that know everything and the rest of us know nothing, and that really does hit me deep. Hit me deep in a way that almost stokes the fire inside, really, when I see the injustice, when I see the information that's been kept from people. And I do realise that some people go to church because they want to. Some people take solace in that. That's none of my business. What they want to do is up to them. But for me, I like to know why are we doing that? What is the origin of doing that? You know, why do we suddenly have this system that's been with us for over 2,000 years? What is the origins of these systems? Who created them? Why did they create them?
Why?
Now that for me is what stokes my fire. That's where I get solace. So I have no. It really is none of my business what people wish to do with their life, what they wish to believe, what they want to do. But I see an injustice in something that's been sort of perpetrated on them. And sometimes when I see, and even members of my own family, you know, who have children, and they bring these children up to the doctrine of their belief system. Now my opinion on that is let them be children first. Let them decide when they get old enough what they want to believe.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a passion. It always has been. You know, I sometimes go into a church because I see a language. There's a language there that speaks to me. And I once said to somebody before, if you go to Japan and you land in Japan, don't be surprised if someone speaks Japanese. If you go into a church, you go into a sacred building, you go into an ancient monument, don't be surprised when the language is codes, because that is their language.
Yeah.
And their language was mathematics, their language was code, their language was symbology. And it's symbology because it protects that knowledge from those who do not know how to interpret them. It sort of protects them, and it keeps it to sort of an elite section of society.
For those that can read it.
For those that can read it correctly, and for those who've been taught to read it correctly.
And it can be as simple as something, an idol on top of the building, or something in the high street that the initiated go, yep, this is it.
Yeah, they see it because they can
saying it without saying it.
Exactly.
It's encoding is in everything. It's
everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, again, when you look at the microcosm, the internal microcosm is merely a reflection of the external macrocosm. So everything is that. So even Christmas Day, we're doing a Christmas show now, but yes, it's lots to do with astronomy and the sun and the movement of the sun. But when you look at dates, when you look at numbers, 2512, 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 2 is 10, which is Azoth, which is the 9 divisions of alchemy, plus the 10th, Azoth, is the internal fire. Now, if you times all those numbers together, it comes up with 300, which is Shin. And when you see Dr. Spock doing this, Shin is the internal fire in the Kabbalah. And of course, Dr. Spock was a Vulcan, who is the god of fire. He's talking about the internal Christ, the Christos. So even the date, even the numbers have been chosen for coded reasons. So why there's nothing wrong with having these celebrations, but I like to look at why we're doing it, and where we get it wrong, and that's really where I sort of come in and what I want to do. The information that's coming in at the moment and continues to come in is sometimes so intense it's difficult to deal with. And I just have to record it. Even sometimes I wake up in the morning, early hours of the morning, and I have to put it on my phone as a text to myself because otherwise I'll forget it.
Or is this your information you're getting in downloads in your dreams still?
It can, or even thoughts. Sometimes my mind is so active with thoughts and with theories, and you know the latest one was, if time is atomic and the atom was created at the Big Bang, and some scientists dispute whether it was a second, 30 seconds, 20, but nevertheless the atoms was created at the Big Bang. Before the atom was created there was no time, so therefore that is infinity. So before the Big Bang there was only infinity, there was no time. And if the creator speaks in numbers, because he or she is a supreme mathematician, that's because the universe is all numerical. If infinity, which is the creator, is greater than any number, then the creator must be greater than the universe, because the universe is numbers. And it's these kind of thoughts, and getting, I do get downloads, I do get mathematical equations coming to me. The last one was the symbol of the square root, and then the number's 397. Now it took me the whole next day to work out what that means, the square root of 397. But in a long nutshell, it takes you back to the mystery schools of Egypt. So
how do you make these connections? Do you force them into, or do you just follow it? or do you go, okay?
I follow the evidence. I follow it where it takes me, because anyone can, anyone can force that to look like a circle. Anyone can force that to look. Of course, you can. You can make what you want, but if you follow the evidence, if I can continue to see the same numbers coming up, if I continue to see the same symbols coming up, if I look into the depths of alchemy, the Kabbalah, the Egyptian mystery schools, into all of these things, and the same things are repeatedly coming back, and then that connects you to that, which are saying the exact same things, they're using the same numbers, and then you go over there and they're using the same numbers. That pattern gets my attention.
Yeah.
And it's the same as going to a crime scene and you look at the evidence and you're piecing together the forensic evidence. That forensic evidence tells its own story. You can't make it up and plant it there. It tells you the story, and you follow that evidence, and that evidence will lead you to the person who's committed that crime. And in the same vein, just follow the evidence, just follow the numbers, just follow the alchemy, just follow the hidden meanings, just follow the origin of what it means, and you will find that all of these things are saying the exact same thing.
Do you ever get to bounce your ideas off somebody who does know, who literally has read the book?
A lot of people you come across who are,
do you ever get to sit down and say,
I've spoken to initiates of secret societies, and I've been told that the things that I am saying would take an initiate many years to understand, but the things that are being said are what they teach. And this is something that I've had to do outside of these societies. When you enter into these societies, of course, the bottom levels, they just know what they need to know.
Get that.
And the higher up, the 33 degrees, which again is quite significant.
Is it 9 levels or something? Is that how it works? There's a lot of levels, isn't there, to it?
It depends on what it is. I mean, Freemasonry, there's the highest public level of degrees is 33 degrees. Of course, there are 33 vertebrae of the spine, which is Jacob's ladder. Now, at the top of that is the temple, where the temple is built, which is the head, which is Golgotha, which is the place of enlightenment. And of course, you get the skull and crossbones with the number 322 at the bottom, because there are 22 bones of the skull.
I think when I watched the program on YouTube, and the guy was saying that all the different levels of masonry, they're not even sure if there's anybody who's actually attained the knowledge at the very top that we're talking about. They might have had it in the past, but whether there's fellas that have the total package or they're just supporting, how high does it go? I mean, where does it stop?
It goes higher than 33 degrees, but 33 is significant in many ways, in enlightenment, in basically the 33rd dimension, the 33rd parallel that runs all across Earth, where you find all the banking institutions, the likes of where Saddam Hussein, Desert Storm is all on the 33rd parallel. Even the Roswell crash is on the 33rd parallel, which is basically 2012 miles at latitude, which is 2112 the Mayans, and there's this 33 degree parallel. The number 33 is quite important as a master number. Of course, Jesus died on the cross, age 33. It's all to do with enlightenment. And there's obviously people at the very top. Now, Masonry comes from the Kabbalah. Masonry is a Jewish establishment.
Right.
Now, the Kabbalah comes from the ancient mystery schools of Egypt. Then you get the Greek philosophy, which comes from the mystery schools of Egypt. You get all of these ancient sites that are aligned to the location of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which is the initiation place. Before you get there, you have to go through the Sphinx, which is to overcome your inner beast, your animal instinct, in order to become the human, because only the human may pass. So we have a lot of animal souls in human form, and that is why there's so much violence and gang oppression and all this kind of stuff, because they are animal souls in human form. They haven't progressed to that human. And the Sphinx, the 4 beasts, is the symbology of overcoming your animal instinct. The same as the bullfight in Spain. The bull is not meant to be slayed, it is symbolic of overcoming your animal instinct. So that is why you have the centaur and half man, half beast and all this, because he's telling you to overcome your animal instinct. Only then may you pass through the Sphinx to become an initiate.
And the answer all leads back to this Great Pyramid.
That is the epicenter.
This is epicenter.
That is the epicenter. Now, about 12,000 years ago, when our current North Pole was actually in Canada.
Right, okay.
You have a 19.5 degree, which all the anomalies of nature follow. Now, whether it's a tornado, whether it's a storm, they always follow a 19.5 degree. It's called the 19.5 degree effect, and that is always north or south of the equator. Now, when you start looking at the likes of the Sidonian city, all of that it pertains to 19.5 degrees. When you look at all the main super pyramids of the world, they are between 19 and 20 degrees along Earth's equator. In the middle of that is obviously 19.5. It all corresponds to numbers. Now, 12,000 years ago, in the last ice age, this Earth grid, this Earth energy belt, went straight the way through the Great Pyramid at 19.5 degrees.
Oh.
So the Great Pyramid was there at least at the last ice age. And as I say, I was mentioning yesterday off camera, or after off camera, there's parts of the Sidonian city that have been dated for 500,000 years old. Now, the coordinates of the Sidonian city tell you the location of these monuments on Earth, so they must be the same age, because they are encoding the grid latitudes and the grid reference of each other, themselves, and places off planet. So they are greater than the 5,000 years old that we are told by Zoe Awas, and the thing is, all of these scholars that rely on archaeology, the answers are not in the ground, they are encoded within the stones. They're not going to find the answers by digging the ground.
Wow, that's menstrual archaeology.
But then they won't get their rent paid, will they?
Yeah.
No.
They don't keep peddling the mainstream.
And even Israeli archaeologists have said in 70 years of excavation, there's been never any evidence found of the physical exodus of Moses. And that is because, again, it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
When you look at alchemy, when you look at the path of least resistance to Godhead, it is called the open sea, the parting of the Red Sea. It's your path of least resistance to your Godhead.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor, it never physically happened.
And it's all ultimately about the human body, DNA.
Self.
So,
DNA, self, your God state, your supernatural potential.
Yeah.
Well, pineal gland is Osiris, and as I said before, when you look at the human head as a map overlay over the Great Pyramid, the pineal gland is where the king's chamber is situated. Now, when you look at what Osiris means in Egypt, it comes from Os, which means many, and Iri, I-R-I, which means eyes, many eyes. And then when you look how Osiris is associated with Orion, the three belts of Orion are your two physical eyes and your third eye. So it's all connected to this consciousness and self.
Yeah. And that's the secret.
The secret is self.
Yep. Cheers, brother.
It's good to end on that. Excellent.
Thank you very much. See you next Christmas.